They called me delusional. They said I had a fatal lack of business sense, and predicted I'd be broke within 6 months. The two people who said this weren't strangers. They were my own family, my older brother Marcus and my father Richard **. They stood in my garage, surrounded by my prototypes, and laughed a condescending, pitying sound that promised my failure. I was 22, fresh out of college, and pouring every penny I had into my start-up, a niche manufacturing company focused on sustainable, high-tech industrial composites. My father and Marcus, owners of the established Prestige Metals company, had spent their entire lives perfecting the old-school, toxic, traditional metal casting industry. They saw my passion as a ridiculous distraction, a waste of talent. They gave me a cold, hard ultimatum: abandon the sustainable idea and join their firm, or be cut off completely. I chose the latter. They told me I'd fail. I told them I'd become a billionaire, and the day I did, I would buy their company and rename it. 7 years later, I sat across from them at a negotiating table, not as their disgraced son, but as the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, ready to make good on that ridiculous promise. The question I still wrestle with is this: when you finally achieve ultimate, undeniable success, is it enough to simply win, or must you use that victory to completely dismantle the foundation of the people who scorned you? Was my final move an act of justified triumph, or did I become just as petty as they always accused me of being? To understand the sheer toxicity of the situation, you need to understand the history of Prestige Metals and the dynamic between me, Liam Maxwell and my older brother, Marcus Prestige Metals wasn't just a business. It was the Maxwell family religion. Founded by my grandfather, it had provided 3 generations of wealth and prestige, all based on heavy, traditional metal fabrication for industries like aerospace and construction. My father, Richard, was a man who believed that if it wasn't complicated and messy, it wasn't profitable. He was rigid, proud, and obsessed with the legacy of the dirty hands industry. Marcus, 6 years my senior, was the anointed heir. He absorbed my father's philosophy, completely conservative, risk-averse, and utterly contemptuous of anything new. He managed the day-to-day operations with an iron fist, convinced that Prestige Metals would last forever just by doing what it had always done. I, on the other hand, was the artist of the family, the one who read academic papers on material science and worried about carbon footprints. After graduating with a degree in engineering and sustainable materials, I saw the coming revolution: the shift from heavy, fossil fuel-intensive metals to lightweight, durable, and environmentally clean composites. My idea was Synthetic Composites a company that developed and manufactured high-strength, bio-based industrial fillers and matrices, essentially making things lighter, stronger, and cleaner than metal, targeting their exact clientele. I knew the market was ripe for disruption. They saw only a naive environmentalist trying to be a businessman. The fateful confrontation happened right before I incorporated Synthetic. I had secured my first small round of angel funding, a meager $150,000, and was working out of our oversized garage, which was still technically my father's property. I had just finished perfecting the first prototype for a lightweight structural component for wind turbines. I was excited, energized, and naive enough to think they would share my enthusiasm. I invited them over. Richard walked in, took one look at my clean, white lab setup, and scoffed. "Where's the soot, Liam? Where's the fire?" he asked, not joking. Marcus picked up my prototype, a feather, light beam, and sneered. "This is a toy, Liam. You think Boeing is going to trust their wing structure to something that looks like it came out of a kitchen mixer. This industry is about gravity, density, and molten steel. You have a fatal lack of business sense if you think this green fantasy will ever make a real profit." When I tried to argue the data, showing them how much cheaper and stronger the composite was, they cut me off with the ultimatum. "Get serious," my father said, his voice flat with disappointment. "Come work for Prestige Metals. Learn the real business, or you are out. We will not fund this foolishness, and you will not use the Maxwell name to chase this delusion." That hurt more than the financial cut-off. It was the absolute, crushing dismissal of my vision and my identity. I looked Marcus right in the eye, then my father, and I said the words that would define the next 7 years of my life. "You will regret that," I told them, my voice shaking only slightly. "I won't just make a profit. I will make a billion asterisk, and the day I do, I'll buy Prestige Metals and change the name. You can stay and watch, or you can retire." They just stood there, speechless, before bursting into laughter. They laughed at the absurdity of a 22-year-old in a garage challenging a 3-generation empire. That sound, that pitying, contemptuous laugh became the fuel in my engine. I was immediately cut off. I had to sell the only inheritance I had, a small piece of land my grandmother left me, to fully fund the startup and move operations out of the garage. It was brutal. For the next 4 years I scraped by. My idea was good, but money was non-existent. I lived on ramen, worked 20 hours a day, and pitched to every venture capital firm that would listen. The early days were marked by constant stress, failed contracts, and the nagging, poisonous voice of Marcus echoing in my head. "You're failing, Liam. Come home." But I had one thing they didn't: foresight. In year 5, everything changed. A massive regulatory shift in the aerospace and auto industries mandated the use of lightweight, sustainable materials to meet new efficiency standards. Suddenly, my niche, bio-based composites, were not just a good idea. They were a regulatory necessity. The dominoes fell fast. Our small production line couldn't keep up with demand. We signed a massive contract with Tesla for battery components, and another with a major European aerospace firm. My initial angel investors saw a 50x return. By year 6, we had scaled to 5 massive production facilities worldwide. Our material became the gold standard. Then came the moment of undeniable proof. We went public. The IPO was enormous, driven by the future-forward nature of the technology. Synthetic Composites debuted at a $2 billion valuation. I, Liam Maxwell, at 29 years old, officially became a self-made billionaire. The first thing I did wasn't buy a yacht or a mansion. I called my lead financial strategist, Dr. Anya Sharma and gave her the single 7-year-old directive: target Prestige Metals. I want 51% control, quietly. Meanwhile, Prestige Metals was crumbling. My father and Marcus had stubbornly refused to adapt. Their traditional metal casting methods were now too expensive, too polluting, and too slow for the modern market. They were losing contracts daily, hemorrhaging cash, desperately trying to sell off assets to stay afloat. They had become exactly what they feared: irrelevant. Dr. Sharma executed the plan with surgical precision. She knew that any public move would be met with an immediate, furious defense from the Maxwell family and a volatile stock spike. She employed a series of shell corporations, blind trusts, and proxy acquisitions over 9 months. She bought up their debt, their stock, and their key supply chain partners. My identity was completely masked. The Maxwell family had no idea that the silent, inevitable hand closing around their neck belonged to me. They thought it was a hostile takeover by some impersonal private equity firm. Then came the final shareholder meeting. The financial state was so dire that the board had reluctantly agreed to a massive capital injection from the mysterious acquiring firm in exchange for a controlling stake. This meeting was the final rubber stamp. So that's the situation I was in. I was sitting in a lawyer's conference room, fully masked as the lead representative of the acquiring group. Across the table sat my father, Richard, Marcus, and the Prestige Metals legal team. They were broken, defeated, and utterly convinced they were selling their legacy to a nameless, faceless entity. I had the satisfaction of knowing I was about to save them from bankruptcy, only to strip them of their name and their control. The question was, should I maintain my anonymity, finish the deal cleanly, and simply save the hundreds of employees who relied on them? Or should I tear off the mask and deliver the final, devastating blow I had promised 7 years ago? Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have prioritized the clean business victory and the employees' safety, or the absolute, personal vengeance promised to your scornful family? Seriously, let me know what choice you would have made right there. I chose the maximum impact. The employees of Prestige Metals deserved to be saved, and I would save them by injecting capital and integrating synthetics technology. But the old guard, Richard and Marcus, needed to feel the full weight of their arrogance. My promise had to be kept. The room was tense. Richard looked decades older, defeated. Marcus, usually so arrogant, looked pale and sick. The lead lawyer for Prestige Metals, an elderly man named Mr. Thompson, began the proceedings. Gentlemen, Mr. Thompson addressed the acquiring party, meaning my lawyer and me. We appreciate your investment and your proposed operational changes. While difficult, this capital injection represents the only viable path forward for Prestige Metals. He passed me the final stock transfer agreement. It granted my holding company 51% of the shares. My lawyer, Anya, spoke for the acquiring group. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Before we sign, there is one final, non-negotiable term of the deal that must be addressed. Richard, my father, spoke up, his voice raspy. What is it? We have agreed to all the operational cuts and technology adoption. What more do you want? I looked at him, feeling the intense gravity of the moment. Anya glanced at me for instruction. I shook my head, silently telling her, I've got this. I pushed my chair back, slowly rising to my feet. I was wearing an expensive, tailored suit, far cleaner than the soot, stained attire Marcus always favored. I adjusted my tie, keeping my face calm. Richard was confused. He frowned and squinted at me. Mr. Thompson, I said, my voice strong, carrying effortlessly across the large table. My identity is relevant to this last term. I reached up to the side of my face and slowly, deliberately, pulled off the high-end, discreet prosthetic facial covering I was wearing. The silence that followed was immediate, total, and deafening. It was not the silence of confusion. It was the silence of a catastrophic realization. Richard's jaw dropped. Marcus's face went white, then mottled red. Liam, my father whispered, the name catching in his throat. He looked from my face to Anya, then back to the contract. trying to reconcile the failed son with the CEO sitting across from him. "Hello, Dad, Marcus," I said, my voice retaining that calm, surgical tone. "I believe you were expecting a faceless private equity firm. You were wrong. I am the acquiring group." Marcus finally found his voice, sputtering in pure denial. "This is impossible. Synthetic Composites is a public company. You don't have this kind of capital. You're trying to leverage a takeover with debt. You'll ruin yourself." I pulled a second document from my briefcase and pushed it toward him. It was a one-page financial summary of Synthetic Composites. Synthetic Composites has a market cap of $3.2 billion as of this morning, Marcus. Our Q3 revenue was higher than your entire company's annual revenue. I funded this acquisition entirely with cash, reserves, and a minimal secured loan. You are not being leveraged. You are being purchased by a company that you called a green fantasy. Richard, the patriarch, the man who prided himself on control, was finally broken. He simply stared at the table, clutching the edges. "The final term, which is non-negotiable and effective immediately," I continued, savoring every word, "is the name of the company. 7 years ago, I promised you that when I made my billion, I would buy Prestige Metals and change the name." I slid a simple, sleek new corporate logo across the table. The words were bold, modern, and clean. "Effective today, Prestige Metals will be renamed *** Synthetic Global Materials ***. The old name, the Dirty Hands Legacy, is retired." I then laid out the full terms of my control. I was keeping the company afloat, saving every employee. But Richard and Marcus were both being removed from all executive duties immediately. They would receive a generous consulting fee to protect their retirement, but their authority was gone. They could stay on the board and watch the necessary transformation to sustainable technology, or they could walk away. Their choice was irrelevant. The control was mine. Marcus, enraged and humiliated, stood up, knocking his chair over. "You little self-righteous brat. This is just petty revenge. You threw away your relationship with us just for this symbolic garbage." "No," I replied, my voice hard, cutting through his rage. "You threw away your relationship with me the day you chose scorn over support. This isn't revenge, Marcus. This is the ** market correction * you refuse to see. Prestige Metals was failing because it was arrogant, and arrogance is a fatal lack of business sense. I proved you wrong. I made the billion, and I kept the promise." I then signed the stock transfer document with a flourish, making the acquisition official. Richard just wept silently at the table. Marcus stormed out, slamming the door so hard the glass rattled. Mr. Thompson, the lawyer, just gave me a small, knowing nod. He understood. The aftermath was exactly as I had planned: swift and total transformation. Within 6 months, ** Synthetic Global Materials ** was fully integrated. We replaced the toxic metal casting processes with our clean composite manufacturing, not only saving the company, but turning it into a hugely profitable, modern enterprise. I kept every single employee, and even offered Marcus and my father their promised consulting roles. Richard refused and retired in silence. Marcus took the consulting role, a broken, humiliating end to his reign, forced to watch his younger brother dismantle and rebuild his empire. The laughter that had fueled me for 7 years was finally silenced, replaced by the hum of my new, clean, profitable factory. I didn't just win. I transcended the very industry they had trapped me in. And every day I go to work, I remember the core truth. Success is the best revenge, but sometimes a little showmanship is necessary to make the lessons stick. Like this video, if you think my ultimate comeback was completely justified. Subscribe for more stories about generational conflicts and financial triumphs. And share your final thoughts on my final move, removing the Prestige Medal's name, in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.